Even now I can't wrap my head around that word. When I think back, it seemed as if it had happened to someone else. My neck in a cervical collar, my arm in a sling. As I lay in that hospital bed, I felt nothing. I'd wanted to scream, but I couldn't get enough air into my lungs to even speak. Then the drugs kicked in, and I drifted back into the black void. Upon awaking several hours later, alone in my hospital room, I tried to wiggle my toes, roll my ankles, shift my thighs, force any kind of movement, but I just ended up sweaty and frustrated. And scared. Holy shit, I'd experienced fear in that hospital bed like I'd never known. Sleep became my refuge. For 24 hours, the doctors watched me for signs of improvement or decline. When I groggily complained about the throbbing pain in my right knee, the doctors did another full, thorough, and painful examination. They determined the hematoma on my spine had caused the temporary paralysis. When the swelling decreased, so did the paralysis. I'd never welcomed pain like I had that night. I refused pain meds. I wanted to feel every twinge and every burning, stabbing pain. It was better than never feeling anything again. 2 days after the paralysis scare, my family loaded me into the Lund Industries private Learjet. The medical professionals associated with the Minnesota Vikings organization recommended a surgeon in Florida, so I was off to Pensacola for diagnosis and surgery. My shoulder injury required surgery, and the recovery time was 4 months. It was one of the most trying times in my life, despite the fact that the surgery had gone well and the prognosis for recovery was excellent. While I appreciated the unconditional support my family provided, they'd been extremely smothering. During the second week of physical therapy, when I became frustrated with my lack of progress increasing my walking speed, I asked for another set of tests because I knew something else was wrong. The tests revealed I'd ruptured my Achilles tendon. The knee injury had masked that issue, and my knee turned out to be the least of my worries. An Achilles rupture can be a kiss of death to a football player. I could name a dozen careers abruptly ended by that particular injury. After the surgery to repair the rupture, which I couldn't schedule until my knee was 100%, the recovery time was a year. So, sitting in the doctor's office in Florida, I knew I'd miss the entire next season. Although I'd signed a 3-year contract, this type of injury was a game changer. The team could pay me the remainder of my guaranteed salary and cut me from the team, turning me into a free agent. But if the Vikings released me due to their medical concerns, what other NFL team would want to take a chance on me? None. Thankfully, I'd had the best year of my career prior to the injury, so I'd been placed on the injured reserve list. The big bosses assigned me a sports medicine therapist/trainer. Dante was a cool guy. He knew when to push me and when to back off. He and I spent a lot of hours together, yet I never forgot where his loyalties were. He'd accompanied me to Florida for my 1-year post-surgical checkup, so he could accurately report the doctor's diagnosis back to the coaching staff. I guess they didn't trust that I'd be totally honest. After the week in Florida, Dante tagged along with me to Mexico. While he sampled tequila and women at the exclusive resort, I spent hours walking on the beach and staring at the ocean, trying to figure out what to do with my life when playing football professionally was no longer an option. Because I could be facing that decision in as little as 3 months. Right now, I was exactly where I claimed I'd wanted to be the past 2 weeks, sitting on my comfy couch in my apartment. So why was I so restless? Why was I lonely? I tipped my head back on the cushion and stared at the ceiling. You're lonely? Call your brothers, or your sister, or your parents, or your cousins. They'd be here, or ask you to meet them someplace in a heartbeat. But my feet didn't move. My will was as lazy as my body today. When I held out my hand toward my suitcase, my phone didn't magically fly into it like Harry Potter's broom did when he called out, "Accio!" That'd be a cool power. It'd be even cooler to have a magic wand that fixed everything. I shifted the ice pack on my groin. I must have been sitting there longer than I'd been aware of because the gel had become gooey and warm. Don't be a brooding asshole. Do something productive. Maybe my neighbor Martin would be up for a video game marathon. If nothing else, the dude made me laugh, especially when he talked about the things he'd seen and heard around the apartment complex. I bet he knew who the nut-smashing kid belonged to. Since Martin lived across from me, I didn't bother to put on a shirt before I stepped in the hallway. If he bitched about me being shirtless, I'd point out that my brother-in-law Axel, former tenant of my apartment, had strolled around